Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is a multi-award winning actress, singer, filmmaker, playwright, and author whose list of accomplishments is truly remarkable. She starred in 9 Broadway shows, including Jelly's Last Jam, for which she won a Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for her unforgettable performance as Sweet Anita. She received 2 more Best Actress Tony nominations for her performances in Play On and Caroline or Change. She's won or been nominated for nearly every award there is in the American theater, including the New York and Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle Awards, the Obie, the Lortel, the Drama Desk Award, the AUDELCO, and the NAACP Award, to name just a few. And she's a Fulbright Specialist. On TV, you've seen her as Heather Dalton in As the World Turns, Livia Fry-Cudahy in All My Children, Ethel Peabody in Gotham, Susan Thompson in Madam Secretary, and Alma Spearman in Women of the Movement. She's also appeared in Criminal Minds, Law and Order, Nurse Jackie, Scandal, The Hunt for the Chicago Strangler, and many more shows. She's also a renowned writer with a best-selling book entitled Get Over Yourself: How to Drop the Drama and Claim the Life You Deserve. Her essay on medium.com entitled Why I Am Fed Up with Performative Activism from Black and White Theater Makers has become required reading at many universities, including the Yale School of Drama. And if that weren't enough, she's knocked it out of the park with her debut feature film, Red Pill, a riveting political thriller like you've never seen before. Here's the trailer.
Do you know what the red pill is? Well, in some circles, a red pill is someone who infiltrates a group and then destroys them from the inside.
Did you hear about the creature woman that attacked a father and son hunting down here?
Good. I hope she killed them.
What is that? Like Sanskrit or
That
Arabic?
looks like Sanskrit.
This ain't the Middle East.
Yeah, it's not even the Middle West.
Who would keep something like that?
What is happening?
Bobby! The only people missing or dead are brown people?
This thought-provoking movie about the fractured state of American politics and race relations has taken international film festivals by storm, winning over 20 prestigious awards. The film is now available on iTunes, Amazon Prime, and most major streaming platforms. Our guest has also produced a book to accompany the movie entitled Red Pill Unmasked. And there's even a game on the movie's website. And on top of all of that, she hosts a highly popular podcast called You Can't Say That. There is simply nothing this woman can't do. I'm delighted and overjoyed to welcome one of my heroes, the multi-talented, incomparable, and irrepressible Tonya Pinkins, to our show. Tonya, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Harvey, thank you so much for having me.
Tonya, I must tell you that I'm absolutely in awe of your creativity. You're not just producing entertainment. You're using your talent to make profound statements about equality, human rights, the state of American politics. Your dad was a policeman, an insurance salesman, and your mom worked at the post office. Where did your social conscience and activism come from?
You know, honestly, I think it was just what was in me, what I was put here to do, because I was that kind of person. But by the time I was 6 or 7 years old, I, kind of started a little rift on the Army base in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, because the kids were doing something that I thought was very wrong. And I pointed it out. And it ended up being a rift between black and white, just because I happened to be black, but it was black and white kids who were doing this bad thing together.
You studied musical theater at Carnegie Mellon before being cast on Broadway, and then you went back to school to get a degree in creative writing. And for a while, you even went to law school, correct?
Yes.
Amazing.
I'm very curious. I just love to learn. I think it's my happy space. I love to travel and learn about other cultures and other people and how they live. So my thirst for learning is unquenchable.
Your body of work on the stage is truly remarkable, Tonya. In addition to the shows I mentioned in my introduction, you've starred in a wide variety of shows, including Merrily We Roll Along, House of Flowers, The Winter's Tale, Milk Like Sugar, Hurt Village, and the world premiere of War by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins. Where do you feel most comfortable, on the stage or on the screen?
There's so very different mediums. I think film, TV, theater. Theater, in most of my experience, is the medium that is most conducive to the actor having power and control, because when you get on that stage at night with the audience, it's just you and the audience, and no one else has control of that. But any medium where it's taped, it means that editors and directors can turn your performance into whatever they want to. So, you go in and you do this work, but how they edit it is really what it's going to be. So there's things to be loved about each one of those mediums.
Do you love, as a filmmaker, having that control that you didn't have as an actor on a set, being controlled by a different team?
Yes, I did. I loved having the final say and being able to pull, a reaction from this scene to put over in this scene, because the audience doesn't know. I mean, it was just like cooking almost, that you could make this recipe and you could say whatever you wanted to say with the footage you had shot. I mean, literally, I think there's the film you write, the film you shoot, and I'm not even the person who said this, the film you write, the film you shoot, the film you edit, and then the film you score. That every one of those parts of the process, you can change what you're saying and what you're making.
Of all the roles you've played, is there one that most closely resembles Tonya Pinkins?
That is so funny. I feel like right now I'm doing Raisin in the Sun at the Public Theater. We just opened last night. And Lena Younger is really the closest to me at this moment. Now, when I was doing Caroline or Change, that was the closest to me at the moment. So I find a lot of times my work and life kind of blend.
You've starred in several cabaret shows, including Bring on the Men with Brad Simmons and Tonya Pinkins Unplugged at the National Black Theatre Festival. Now that you're doing so much work on TV and in movies, do you think you'll ever go back to the stage even beyond what you're doing now with Raisin in the Sun?
It's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. I love doing cabaret with Brad Simmons. We've done a lot of shows together, but I have a lot of TV film projects that I would like to see, come into the world, not just be ideas or scripts. So that, I'm finding, takes a lot of time, raising money and building a support team to make that happen. So that's going to be a focus for a while.
I think the timing for you is perfect. I think that you bring a sensibility and a sensitivity to the medium that we all need. It's very, very refreshing. It's very current. And I think you've got a huge future on TV and in the movies with your own projects.
May it be so.
You've co-starred in 2 soap operas, As the World Turns and All My Children. When we had Eric Braeden from The Young and the Restless on the show, he said that working on a soap opera is the hardest work an actor can do. Do you agree?
I don't agree. I think it's some of the best training you can ever get. Learning how to act when the camera is on, learning those lines, so many lines to learn in a day, in and out, like you got to in and out, because the next day there's going to be a new set of them. And learning how to, I would call it, set off little firecrackers every time the camera light turns on you. So it's very technical, but I loved it. I mean, I grew up watching All My Children from the time I was 7 years old. So to get to be on a show that was the world that I watched in my childhood is like, like, wow, like you dream it and there it is, it's happening.
But I would have thought that doing 8 shows a week on Broadway was harder than soap opera work.
It certainly feels harder doing 8 shows a week now than it did when I was younger. Yeah, 8 shows is hard. The show I'm doing now is over 3 hours, and it is a workout. I spend most of my day resting in preparation to do this show, which is vocally, emotionally quite a workout. We do a 5-show weekend.
It's intense.
Oh, it's intense. It's because it's the mind doesn't know reality from fantasy, and so you live all those things over and over and over again. You're experiencing that.
You're talking like a method actress there.
I am a method actress. I was trained by William Esper and William H. Macy, and yes, the Meisner method. That is how I was trained, living truthfully and fully in imaginary circumstances.
And what a master of that you are. I can't resist asking you about a movie you co-starred in called Fading Gigolo, starring John Turturro, Woody Allen, Sharon Stone, Liev Schreiber, Sofia Vergara, and you. You play Woody Allen's partner. What a cast. What was it like on that movie set?
Well, I was only there days to work with Woody, and John Turturro is just really a riot. He is so much fun. And that was my second movie with John. So it was fun because he makes things fun. He's a fun guy. So he always makes working fun.
Well, you heard me say in the introduction that you're one of my heroes, or I should say sheroes. And that's because one of the most fascinating things you've done as a playwright is a project called Truth and Reconciliation, Women Working It Out, which was a series of short plays written and performed by women, focusing on the harm that women can suffer when they don't support each other. Your particular play was Till Hell Freezes Over, which was told entirely by video close-ups of the characters' eyes. How did you get the idea to do that?
I think in the process of commissioning other writers and thinking about what were difficult moments in history where forgiveness could be found, I imagined, Mamie Till and Carolyn Bryant, who happens to still be alive, like how could a reconciliation happen between them? And so I put it in what might be called the Bardo, this place between heaven and hell. And, we have so many wonderful movies about Mamie Till. We have the new one, Till, which is extraordinary. And then the mini series that I was a part of last year or earlier this year, actually. And, we get all of the dignity and the strength of Mamie Till. And yes, that is what someone has to show the public. But because she's a human and like I'm a human, I know that there are lots of other feelings that you have, whether you share them with other people or not. They're there. That's just part of being a human being. And so I wanted to have those two women wrestling with each other to see if they could come to a reconciliation. For some people, that was very upsetting. Like, that woman doesn't deserve forgiveness or whatever. But I don't know who said it, but that, hate, you're poisoning yourself. So those plays for me were really about women. In my movie, I coined this phrase, misogyny, women hating women. And I see so much of that in the world that I wanted to complement and contrast Red Pill, which shows you the conflict of women hating women. Truth and Reconciliation plays were about women in difficult situations, building a bridge to healing.
Do you get that in your creative process and in the work that you convey to us, that you're a healer?
I am sometimes very aware of that. I don't think of it as I'm a healer. I think of it very much in the way that I do my acting work and my teaching work, that I am able to get myself out of the way and allow the energy that made everything that is to come through me, and it does the healing. So it's a surrendering.
I think it's more. I think you're opening your heart.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm opening all of my being to be used.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do get to do that often, and it is a very profound thing to get to do. I was teaching at Theater for All for the last 2 weeks, and if you don't know Theater for All, it's a theater based in Queens, and their motto is nothing about us without us. And it is a company of people who have different kinds of accessibility needs. And so I've been teaching a self-taping class, and many of my students can only sign, or some of them can't see or have low vision or have the range of accommodations and accessibility issues that people have. Was really a lot for me to learn. It was my first time, and I observed, some of the teachers for me felt like they were coddling a little bit, because we're in this era where, cancellation is so easy, so people don't want to risk offending. And so I felt that I saw some of that. And for me, that's always a disservice. Like, if you respect someone, you tell them your truth. Doesn't mean it's the truth, but you treat them with enough respect that they can take and manage their feelings about what your truth does to them, and that they can still figure out what they need to do for themselves. So when I worked with these students, there's sometimes, especially as a method actor, and I started working with Stephen Schachter and William Macy when I was 15 years old. And they'd often have me doing this repetition game. And they'd often put me with, the students who had the most physical, issues, because they knew I was going to say the truth. I wasn't going to try to sit and look at somebody who had like a big wart on their nose. And, when you're just saying things you see and not go, you have a wart on your nose. Whereas many other people would try to avoid being cruel or hurting someone's feelings. And it's like, no, we're being honest. That's what this work is training us about. And so yesterday teaching, at the end of the class, I felt like, you're good at this. You're good at this. And then I got this email from them saying that the work that I gotten out of these students was the best they'd seen in years. And I thought, okay, something was coming through me. And it was really me making sure that their accessibility issues were met. And as long as that was met, then they're just another actor. And if they're not wearing the right clothes, or that, you can't see yourself, so you don't know that, you have this thing that you do that doesn't work on camera, like, I got to tell you, that's the respectful thing to do. That's what's going to help you.
And it's healing. And while we're on that topic, I want to take a moment to mention your self-help book, Get Over Yourself: How to Drop the Drama and Claim the Life You Deserve. You opened up a lot about your life, and you give great advice about how to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. The book came out in 2006. I absolutely loved it. I've given it to friends as gifts. You've achieved so much and learned so much since 2006. Do you think it's time for an updated edition of the book?
Well, I think that if people were to listen to the audiobook or read Red Pill Unmasked, it is very much in the same vein of Get Over Yourself. I don't think that I can tell any story without talking about what I learned along the way. So Red Pill Unmasked would be the updated Get Over Yourself, because I do talk about, things like, I never have wanted to be a leader because I always feared that I might lead people astray, because I'm so aware every time I learn something new of how much I don't know and still have to learn. And so there's this like, I can't tell anybody anything. And then I've also always wanted to have like my tribe, like my team. And those were things that have always seemed very elusive to me. And in the middle of shooting Red Pill, I had this moment of realizing like, oh, you got both of them right now. You got a team and you're the leader.
Yeah.
And it's like, and these people came together because they believed in something you invented. And if you lose faith in it, then they're going to lose faith in it because they're trusting you. So you better know that you're going to lead them in the right direction.
Well, I can't imagine anybody not wanting to be on your team. I have to tell you, And another reason I admire you so much is because you're not afraid to speak your mind, even if it means walking away from a job. In January 2016, you left the Classic Stage Company's production of Mother Courage. You issued a public statement saying, and I'm quoting you here, "Too many times in my career, my perspective as a Black woman was dismissed in favor of portraying the Black woman through a white filter. A Black female should have a say in the presentation of a Black female on stage." So Tonya, has the situation for Black artists improved since 2016?
I don't know. First of all, I haven't been on the stage or done a lot of work because of the pandemic. You certainly see more people working, more writers, more directors. I think last year in the theater on Broadway, there were more Black plays on Broadway than there had been in 40 years. So there's certainly the illusion of change. I'm a little more far-sighted than that. You know, one of the things I talk about in Get Over Yourself is the difference between moving towards something that you love and moving away from something painful. And I feel like in this moment, we're still moving away from the difficult rather than moving towards a vision. It doesn't mean it hasn't been done. I haven't heard an articulated vision for a theater or artistic community that works for more people. I mean, that's the beauty of Theater for All, nothing about us without us. But certainly more people are getting paid, getting more opportunities. But with the political situation as it still currently is, that could all end very quickly.
Boy, you just said a mouthful. I want to read you something else you wrote in that public statement that really moved me, Tonya. You said, "I and many other artists of color have benefited from having honorary white status bestowed upon us for our work. This allows us to work alongside the best in the business and to be treated as equals. It is a daily struggle to partake of this status while straining to maintain integrity and authenticity to our own culture. Yet this status is often stripped when we are asked to portray our own people." Tonya, that was a very profound and insightful statement that you made. Did you get a lot of public support from other Black artists after issuing that statement? Because I felt that you were very much alone at the time.
Yeah, very much alone. I feel like, I believe that when you speak truth polarizes. It calls up both sides of the thing. So it's kind of this badge that I know that if I'm getting both love and hate for something, I'm probably walking in truth. And I've learned to make peace with that discomfort.
Is it hurtful to you that you don't feel the support you should get from your own community?
You know, certainly things hurt, but I don't know. That's just part of life for me. Yeah, it hurts, but everybody has the right to feel and believe and think what they want. And I want that right for myself just as much as I want it for everyone else. And I guess I'm a little, in the Oscar Wilde community about, if the whole crowd is doing it, it's probably not the right thing. So I also look back historically in almost every field, the people who were speaking truth were vilified or exiled or jailed or killed traditionally in every arena. Galileo, Copernicus, Jesus Christ. I mean, there is no reward to speaking truth. It comes with martyrdom generally.
I think the challenge in your industry is that it's 10% show and 90% business. And you have an enormous amount of integrity and you are principled and you have ethics. But the vast majority of people I have encountered in this business are really business people. They look at optics, they look at business, and you are so far beyond that. It's one of the reasons I admire you so much. And I wanted you on the show because you really are different. You're an artist. You understand the business. You couldn't be where you are if you didn't understand the business, but you care about making a difference in the world more than the business. It's very unique.
That is true for me. That is true for me. I, always felt about the business that you have to make a life. And, you have to do what you can live with at 3:00 in the morning when you're alone and you don't have your supporters and fans. Like, can you live with your choices? And that's just, I don't know where that came from, but I always knew that I needed a life more than I needed a career.
You're just a very special human being. You were the one to create the terms Black perspectives matter and other perspectives matter. Tell me about the changes you want to see in the entertainment world to make it a more fair and inclusive environment.
I feel like settler colonial capitalism has diminished the world for everyone because it's about scarcity, because scarcity means you can raise the price on something. So it's this illusion that there's not enough of this. But the fact is, there are talented people everywhere. There is so much talent. If we weren't trying to turn it into a commodity, the amount of glorious art and beauty that would be available to us is pretty infinite. You'd find it everywhere on every corner. I mean, I think that that's what the TikToks and the Snapchats are showing us. Oh my God, anywhere you look in the world, there are people who are funny, who are creative, who are doing things. And the system, the business, will try to steal from that rather than uplifting it because they think, you can't make these enormous profits off of a surplus of things. I don't think that's true. I think that this universe is a perpetual motion machine. And as long as everything is circulating, there's going to be enough for everybody eternally. What the capitalist system we live in is, it's about extracting and hoarding, extracting and hoarding, extracting and hoarding. And so we are not making the most of all that is available to us all the time. So we need a shift in consciousness, which I think is going to come because I do feel like we're going into a very dark time. There's this quote I came upon recently that is old. I think it may go all the way back to Socrates or something. It was like, tough times make strong people. Strong people make good times. Good times make weak people. Weak people make tough times. And that's a cycle that repeats. And we're in this time where we're about to go into some tough times. But the people that survive those tough times are going to build something great and extraordinary. I may not be here for it, but I have absolute faith that it is going to happen because this universe is these cycles, these waves, ups and downs. And you see it in every aspect of the way this planet and every system we have works in cycles.
Yes, I agree. And that is a perfect segue into our discussion about your incredibly powerful movie, Red Pill, which really blew me away. The story takes place on the eve of the 2020 presidential election, when a group of progressives go deep into Republican territory to canvass for the election, and their lives turn into a horrible nightmare. What inspired you to write this story?
Mostly feeling that people in like New York City, where I live, were really delusional. The progressives were delusional. And there were things that I was seeing that felt inevitable to me. They felt inevitable to me before the 2016 election. And whenever I would speak about them, I was treated with contempt. I was treated like I had two heads. And so when 2020 came around, I felt pretty sure what was going to happen. And I thought, I don't really like that. You said about not being supported. I don't like being treated with contempt. So I said, let me take this frustration I have and make a piece of art out of it. Even when I wrote the script, people were like, that's so far-fetched. But I was like, well, I'm spending my own money to make it. I can say what I want to say. People can say whatever they want. But this is the space for me to take all this very big and intense fear, frustration, I felt like I'm trying to let you know that the wolf is here, pay attention. And nobody was. So like, I'm going to make a piece of art, and people can say it was crazy and far-fetched. And, then they can look back and go, oh, wow. How did you know?
Yeah, it's a Black woman's perspective on the horror of American politics. And as I was watching the film, Tonya, what I thought was so brilliant was that you found a way to make white people feel uncomfortable in the same way that you, as a Black person, have been made to feel uncomfortable with the images you've been forced to see of Black people your entire life. That must have been a conscious decision.
It was. And I'm so glad you saw it, because a lot of people don't see it. They just take the discomfort and then just hate the movie, which is fine because it's them. But to see that I'm trying to hold up a mirror. And yes, that is exactly what I was doing.
It was brilliant. You play Cassandra in the film. She speaks the truth, but is never believed. Yes. I'm guessing that you base that character on yourself because you've been treated with contempt your whole life for speaking your truth. Am I right?
Yes, but also the mythological Cassandra, who was cursed with speaking the truth and never being believed.
You've always said that liberals are more scary to you than racists. Why?
Because someone who can be in certainty about what they hate, that's integrity. It may not be the kind of integrity we want to see, but it's integrity. They know what they like, they know what they want, and they are willing to die for it.
Well, I don't think that's integrity. I think that's transparency.
Well, what I can say about it is you can trust what they're going to do.
Because they're transparent.
Well, yes. Whereas the progressives I experience in, the circles I'm in are often performing what is the way you're supposed to be.
Because they go for self-preservation.
But the problem is, if things get tough, if the behavior and what you support is just a performance, when your butt is on the line, you can't really trust that they're going to stay in that place. And that's been proven time and time again. The Times had a whole podcast series called Good White People. The Los Angeles Times did a piece about white people, and these were both in education. And it talked about how there were all these progressives who talked about the kind of education, and they wanted integration, and they wanted their kids to have people from every background and culture in their school. But when it actually came down to where they sent their children to schools where they could control it, and they could have the power and make sure their children got the best of everything.
Right.
And so that is, to me, the progressive, that's a lot of progressives. And I wanted to try to capture that in Red Pill, and that the quote blue people, Cassandra's friends, they're not that good either. They take down a sign. What does that do? They're patting themselves on the back for taking down a sign. A lot of empty gesture.
Yeah, self-preservation. Now, I mentioned in my introduction, the movie's getting a lot of very prestigious film festival awards, but what about feedback from the public? What are you hearing?
Oh, gosh. I just had a screening on Saturday for the Real Sisters of the Diaspora Film Festival. And this is my favorite thing. So I don't need you to love what I do. I need you to be affected by what I do. And I just want to know what your experience was. So one woman who is a new friend, so she was showing up to support me. And she was like, I don't like horror. And I don't believe lynching should ever be seen ever. And so she said, your movie opens. And I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? And then she's like, okay, you did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. You saw this news. So you can't blame her. She didn't lie to you about what it was. But she said over the course of it, she just started seeing what I was saying. And she was like, I got why you had to have a lynching. You flipped the switch on a lynching. Like normally we see lynchings as these Black bodies and people smiling underneath them. And I was like, no, so here's a lynching and there's a white body and they're crying. That's the appropriate response to a lynching. outrage and fear and terror. And I don't want to see that. And so that's exciting when you can shift something in someone. One woman in Connecticut, she said to me, I never imagined that Black people could be afraid when they come into our neighborhoods. Wow. To change someone's perspective with a piece of art, like what gets better than that?
Yeah. Well, can I give you my reaction to the film?
Sure.
I think it's very reassuring and comforting to watch a film made by somebody in the industry who actually sees the world the same way I do. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you wrote a book called Red Pill Unmasked, which is not only about the making of the movie, it's a historical, spiritual, philosophical memoir, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to, because I do feel like everything we do can further our soul journey. Like, I think that's what we're here to be, these souls that are evolving for whatever made this, to get to know more of itself or be more of whatever it is. I just learned so many lessons. And so many times in my life, I find, what you put your attention on increases in your world. And so there, when I was doing Red Pill, I was doing all these red pill talkbacks and the red pilling of America. And then it turned out there was a red pill on the team, someone who was within the team trying to make sure the film was never going to happen. Wow. So I really talk about stuff like that.
It seems to me that your entire life's work is about building bridges to a world without oppression and inequality and injustice. I know you choose your projects very carefully. Tell us what's next for Tonya Pinkins.
Well, the projects that I'm working on now, there are 3 major ones. I'll go in reverse order. So there's a beautiful film that I hope I'm going to make that, they're political, of course, everything I do is, or spiritual. It's called Free to Be Us. It takes place between Brown v. Board of Education and Loving v. Virginia. And a young Black boy and a young white girl, they love poetry. And they become friends around poetry, but it is the Jim Crow South. And so even a friendship for them is not possible. And a romance is really not possible. So they, go through the struggles of the Jim Crow South and go off and marry the people they're supposed to marry. But then Loving v. Virginia happens and they find their way back to each other. And then there's another piece that I'm adapting from a series of books by Mark McGowan, which are angel demon stories set in my hometown of Chicago. And that is really, I'm adapting those books to a limited series about a middle-aged woman who's, at a crossroads in her life when the Nether, which is the Comedian name for what we call the god, the Nether, which is what created everything, sends this undead emissary to tell her that she has been chosen to be God's champion to save humanity from a demon apocalypse. And it's really about wrestling with what is good, what is bad, what is free will, what is choice. And then the third project is called Freedom Code, which is the historical story of a family where 3 generations of women stitched the codes into quilts that helped guide escaped Africans to freedom in the North.
Wow. I want to tell our viewers that you can learn more about Tonya Pinkins by going to her website, tonyapinkins.com. And for more information about her movie, Red Pill, go to the movie's website, redpillmovie2020.com. The movie is now available on iTunes, Amazon Prime, and every major streaming platform. And don't forget to tune into Tonya's wonderful podcast, You Can't Say That, available on Apple Podcasts. Well, Ms. Tonya Pinkins, I've enjoyed every moment of our time together. I can't wait to have you back on the show to promote all your future projects. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show.
Thank you, Harvey. And people, if you're in New York, come and see A Raisin in the Sun. This is a new rendition of A Raisin in the Sun, directed by Robert O'Hara, who just directed Slave Play on Broadway. He's been working on this for about 10 years. And Lorraine Hansberry always saw this as a protest play and was always frustrated with the way the play was presented. Imani Perry, who's one of her biographers, said that this is the play, the version of the play that Lorraine intended. So that's
I wish I was in New York. I would love to see you in that performance. Is
Yeah.
it going to be filmed at all?
No.
There it is. So people, if you're in New York, do not miss Tonya Pinkins in Raisin in the Sun. Our guest has been the incredibly wonderful and unstoppable force of nature known as Tonya Pinkins. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you to my team in LA and the UK. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.